4.2 billion years ago. Earth was not a place you could survive. The surface was a violent ocean of fire and rock. Asteroids were crashing down non-stop. The atmosphere was toxic. The oceans were barely forming.
By everything we understand about life, nothing should have existed here. And yet, something did. Somewhere in that chaos, a single microscopic organism appeared. It wasn't human. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't even a cell like we know today. But it may be the reason you exist.
Scientists call it LUCA, the Last Universal Common Ancestor. And according to new research, LUCA is far older than we ever imagined. Older than complex cells, older than oxygen, possibly older than stable continents. Which raises a disturbing question. How did life begin when Earth itself was barely alive? Every living thing on this planet shares something in common. Not just DNA, not just cells, but a deep biological code that points back to a single origin. From bacteria in deep ocean vents, to trees stretching into the sky, to the human brain watching this right now, all of it may trace back to one ancient survivor, LUCA.
But LUCA wasn't the first life. It was something even more important. It was the organism that didn't die. Billions of years ago, life may have started many times. Different chemical reactions, different early organisms, different experiments by nature itself. But almost all of them vanished.
Wiped out by extreme heat, destroyed by asteroid impacts, erased before they could evolve. Except one. LUCA wasn't necessarily the strongest or the smartest, but it was the one that adapted, the one that endured, the one that passed on its code. And over imaginable time, everything else came from it.
Recent scientific models suggest LUCA lived around 4.2 billion years ago. That's shockingly early, because at that time, Earth was still being bombarded by massive space debris. Entire oceans could have evaporated. The surface temperature may have swung wildly. This period is often called the Hadean Earth, a time many scientists once believed was completely uninhabitable. But LUCA challenges that idea. If LUCA existed then, life didn't slowly appear after Earth calmed down. It emerged almost immediately. Which means life may not be fragile. It may be inevitable. So what was LUCA actually like? Not a plant, not an animal, not even a modern bacterium. LUCA was likely a simple single-celled organism living in extreme environments, possibly near deep-sea hydrothermal vents where superheating water bursts from cracks in the ocean floor. These environments are rich in minerals, full of chemical energy, and completely independent from sunlight. Even today, life thrives there, which suggests something incredible. Life on Earth may not have started from sunlight, but from the heat of the planet itself. LUCA likely didn't breathe oxygen, because oxygen didn't exist yet. Instead, it may have used chemical reactions involving hydrogen and carbon dioxide to generate energy. A completely alien metabolism compared to most life today. And yet, the core systems LUCA used, the way it processed energy, the way it copied genetic material, are still found in every living thing alive right now. Inside your cells, there are molecular machines that may be direct descendants of LUCA's original biology. You are not just related to LUCA, you are carrying it. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. If life began this early on Earth, under such extreme conditions, then what does that mean for the rest of the universe? Because Earth isn't unique. There are billions of planets with similar conditions scattered across the cosmos. If life can appear almost instantly, even in chaos, then it might not be rare at all. It might be everywhere. And if that's true, then somewhere out there, on a distant world orbiting a distant star, another version of LUCA may have formed. Another chain of life may have begun, evolving, adapting, surviving, possibly leading to something watching its own version of this moment. But back on Earth, LUCA's legacy continued. Over billions of years, it split into different lineages. Some became bacteria. Some became archaea. Eventually, much later, came complex cells. Then multicellular life. Then animals. Then humans. All from one original survivor. One fragile beginning that refused to disappear. And here's the final twist. We may never find LUCA directly. There are no fossils of it, no preserved remains. Because it lived so long ago, before the Earth could even properly record history. Everything we know about LUCA comes from decoding the genetic patterns inside living organisms today. In other words, we didn't discover LUCA in the ground. We discovered it inside ourselves. So the next time you look at life, a tree, an animal, a human face, remember this. You are not separate. You are part of a chain that began nearly 4.2 billion years ago. A chain that survived fire, impact, extinction, and impossible odds, all the way to now. And it all leads back to something that shouldn't have existed, but did.